Well, welcome back to CAVS Hour. I'm your host, Bubba Starts, here on the Scene Project Sports Network. With me, as always, head coach Tom Culver. Some tough sledding for the boys this last Friday in Parkston, but a lot that we can still learn from and glean some experience for the future. We know from talking last week that Parkston's a solid program, right? To the state championship the last 2 years, winning one of those. So this team's bringing a lot of experience to the table to this game.
Yeah, they are definitely a good team, well coached and everything, and hopefully our kids can learn something. I don't think they're that much better than us, but when that's the thing about high school sports, sometimes when things go bad, it happens in bunches, and that was kind of the case. But they're pretty physical, and I think our kids can learn some stuff from this, and hopefully get better, and we can win these last 2 games.
Well, and sometimes you win more from your losses and taking a beating like this than you do from a blowout win. There's a lot more to glean from maybe some weaknesses that haven't been exposed in the system or in certain players that need to get a little bit better. So there's a lot that can still be gained from this.
Yeah, and I think so. And we've also got to realize that if we want to get to a point of making a deep run in the playoffs, there are certain things we got to do better, and you can maybe beat lesser opponents making mistakes, but you can't beat good opponents like this making some of the mistakes. So hopefully we learn, and and it's done and over with, and we can.
Well, and you're on to the next week, right? That's the great thing about football, is you're going to get a chance the next week. This one is obviously a big one. We got homecoming up this coming week. We'll get more into that, but you guys started off hot. You got the opening kickoff pulled up for us, so I'm guessing something good happened here.
Yeah, that was a pretty good play here, and we'll kind of go through this. A little bit hard to see because the sun is just peeking over the grandstand, but you can kind of see Titan Ronick picks it up at about the 10, and we've got guys on the ground, and we're doing a great job of blocking, and he uses his speed and ends up taking it 90 yards for a touchdown.
That's incredible, man. What a way to start. You can see the guys on the sideline jumping up and down.
Yeah.
Get some good energy flowing. And to see it, you haven't had a lot of long returns in the return game yet. Obviously, a lot of great special teams play with the punt blocks that we've seen. But now you got something in your back pocket to say, hey, this is what we can bring to the table on that kickoff return.
Yeah, and I've been waiting we've been close a couple times of somebody returning it, and either him or Major, and Devin before he got hurt was returned well. Now the problem is we're probably not going to have this opportunity. Well, I can almost guarantee you we're not going to have that opportunity this week, because Woolsey Westinghouse going to onside kick, squib it, everything. All of them. So they are not. They wouldn't kick it deep anyway. And now after seeing this, I'm sure they're not going to.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Well, nice to know that going in too, and of course they don't want to give you any extra juice on a homecoming weekend and everything. So
yeah, that's for sure. So, maybe against Platt we can have one because they'll kick it deeper, but Woolsey Westington will not.
Yeah. That's great that the program and know the coach that well that just we're not going to play that. And I got to imagine it's really hard in 9-man football to cover those kickoffs because your lanes become so wide to try and cover that. And with a team that displays as much speed as your CAVS team does, you're always a threat to house one like that.
Yeah, and that's Woolsey Westinghouse, like I said, they've done that forever, and they've since I've seen the program, it's the 3rd different coach, and it's the same thing. They're going to onside it, and the advantage, for a return team, there is more alleys, but then also for the kickoff team, if you're going to onside or squib it, you've got two fewer people to cover that same amount of ground, so you have to really be on the ball, and you got to have guys in front that got hands
No, and you're going to face some challenges this week having that. You haven't really seen a whole lot of that throughout the season here. And like you said, you got to have the hands team out there and prepared. And at least you have some foreknowledge of that because of the program. Can we go back to the kick return and watch it in slow motion? I want you to kind of point out what makes that kind of come. So yeah, obviously Titan has the speed to get in there, but there was a huge hole for him to run through. All he had to do was just turn the jets on.
Yeah. If you look, and I can point out here a key block. So he's going back. Now you see, I'll pause it here. You can see Major was on this side, and he's seeing the balls kick to Titan, so he's coming up and being a lead blocker. And right there, we got two guys, Major and I think that might be Peyton. All right, so they both get their guys on the ground. And the one thing that people may not realize, if you don't know football rules, is on these kickoff, punt, and kickoff return, you have to block above the waist. All right, you cannot block below the waist at all. And so now when it comes to it, these guys, everybody's occupied. This guy was way over here, so we're not even going to worry about him. If he catches him, then he's really fast.
No, and so Titan breaks through this hole. You got one guy blocking two essentially down here, two guys blocking another one, and he's got the kicker to beat, which in high school is usually one of their better athletes because they're the ones who can do it. But you're not catching this kid with a full head of steam already running 20, 30 yards down the field at you.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we stressed to our returners earlier in the year. It seemed like they were coming up and then they were kind of slowing down and then making a cut. And I said, you got to make those cuts at full speed. And, it's kind of hard to see on there. But as he's running toward the sideline, before he gets to that kicker, he makes just a little head fake, juke fake in, which got the kicker leaning, and that allowed him to get to the outside.
Right, and you don't see that. I mean, this guy's 20 yards down the field, and it's hard to see it in real time, but that slight head fake is enough to give him that juice to get to the outside, a little bit closer to the sideline then, and to run right around him.
And then, the other thing is he did it at full speed. He didn't slow down. He gave that little juke at full speed, and that allowed him to.
And Titan's a freshman, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so for him to get some experience housing one like this and getting to feel that juice, I know he plays a lot of defense for you as well. To get out there and score some points, that's only going to serve him well for the rest of his career.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's kind of a good news, bad news deal. Good news is, he's got 3 more years after this to do that, and the bad news for the opponents is he's got 3 more years to do that.
Awesome. All right, so I know there was a lot of points scored in this one. Unfortunately, most of them not by our Cavaliers, but I know we had with some touchdowns to look at. And giving up 70 points, you guys played a lot of defense. There was a lot of plays that didn't go your way. But what can the fellas learn? Was there something different that Parkston was doing than some of these other teams? Are they a run-heavy team? Are they a pass-heavy team? What was it that they were kind of exposing in the defense?
They're very run-heavy, and and kind of like us, believe in run first. Coach Grave, that's the head coach, he played at West Central, who at the time that he played, with Coach Mueller and UTEC, and they were going to pound the ball at you, and they were very good at it.
Well, I don't know when he played there, but Lead Deadwood, Lead High School played him in the championship. My junior and senior years of high school, I wasn't on the team, but I went and watched them, and they ran the kids were just twice the size of what we had. We're pulling from a town of a few thousand, and while West Central is a smaller district, right? They're right outside of Sioux Falls still, right? In the Hartford area is where the school is, right? So, these are corn-fed boys, and you're coming from West River. It's a different ball game. Some of these guys were 280 in high school, man.
Yeah, and they've had a great program for a lot of years. And, Coach UTEC that was there for a long time just went into the South Dakota Sports Hall of Fame. And, so they are, and so he's a product of that program, and that makes a difference in philosophy and stuff. And one of the things about we run a lot of wishbone, they run double wing, and we had seen some double wing teams before, but not ones that ran it as well as they did, and plus they've got good athletes in the backfield. They're pretty solid at all positions. So
does the double wing pose any difficulties for your team in just the defensive structure that you run? I'm assuming different offensive structures can maybe give you fits as well as that goes. And not that you don't make adjustments, but when you're going outside of what you normally run because the team is presenting different challenges, is that something that you guys were facing with this wing?
Well, like I said, we have seen it before, and we defended it. One of the things that we tried to run primarily the same defense that can adjust to any offense, but when you have really good linemen, if our defensive line is not holding their own and doing a good enough job, then those offensive linemen are free to release the linebackers, which makes it really tough on linebackers to get downhill and make plays.
Do you have maybe one of their plays that we can just, while we're talking about it, that we can kind of show that wing and the problems that it caused? Because you run primarily a 3-3-3 offense.
Yeah. I'll put this back.
So what's the difference between the wing here? So what you mean is that the player here on the outside and the other double wing, that's what makes it the double usually, and then it would be a single running back.
Yeah,
where you run more of the wishbone, which is 3 backs in the backfield and less stuff out on front. This just puts a lot of bodies right up near the line of scrimmage, and when you're only running 3 down linemen, that you're not able to soak up a lot of that offensive tackles and guards up there.
Yeah, and you'll see they usually send somebody in motion, so now this back goes in motion, and here they're pitching it, and you can see our defensive end got way too deep. I'll pause it a little bit. He should stop right there. So they set the guy in motion.
He's kind of chasing the play a little bit, looking for that, and misses it coming back at him.
Yeah, and so he fakes that toss, the quarterback, and then this back on the left is coming back inside. If he stops right there, that pulling guard, he runs into him, makes this guy kick out. Now our corner can come up and make the play. But he got too deep.
Just wide open.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, and then a little juke there to get in. So some poor execution, but football is all about execution, right? You can be in the right place at the right time and still miss the play. And these are the kind of things that you're running through with the guys on the weekends. You're not going through necessarily the highlights with them. Right. You're going through the points where you can teach and coach them up and say, hey, this is where we got to be better. You have to be able to break down there, not over pursue the fake, and be ready to make a play.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Against the double wing, and then also against our option football is kind of the same thing. And I know, as talking to the coach afterwards, they spent a ton of time trying to defend the option. You have to be on both double wing and our option. You have to be very disciplined. And if you're not, if the quarterback's reading things right, he makes the right read. It's hard to defend. And in this case, you see if defensive guy one guy makes one mistake, then you're in trouble. And it
starts to break everything down. Right. And especially like we've talked about a lot with 9-man football, there's a lot. There's not the safeties back there to kind of bail you out of a bad play or a misstep. There's a lot of room out there on the field for these guys. I appreciate that. So obviously with the wing, you know what you're going to get from this team. You're going to get that motion going left or right all the time. And then so those wings can receive the ball and then running it at you too. And that's actually what they did on this play. Was the other wing ended up getting the ball. Was that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot to cover, a very difficult scheme to try and go against, and you really need those defensive ends. It makes their job that much tougher.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I can show you something that we haven't done very much this year. Okay, I went too far. All right, this was. No, we're on defense there. I don't want to. All right, here is. Okay, here is touchdown we scored right before half. This is part of our 2-minute offense. So what we're capable of doing here is I can no huddle, signal everything in. We have signals. Kids have wristbands that have play. So it's kind of easier. So once I signal in a play, and they can look, the receivers especially, the linemen have them too because they like to have them.
Yeah.
So, even though most of the time you're blocking or whatever,
right.
And but so then the receiver can see the route and everything. And
well, this is a huge play. You're 4th and 12 here, end of the half. I don't know what the score is, if we have the score of the game at this point, but I'm assuming you're probably down.
Yeah.
The way the game was going. So you got to get 7 here, right? Or you're thinking 6 at least, and trying to put some points up before the half to not go down in a huge hole. You got to have this play.
Yeah, and Madden made a really good play here. They're one of the few teams that no matter if you go to this or not, they're going to have 4 down linemen and they're coming after you. So, Isaiah would usually run a route here, but he can't because he has to help.
And off the bat, you're outnumbered, right? You're outnumbered. And what's going to happen here, because you can see where they have their defensive end way outside of your tackle, and Isaiah's all the way on the opposite end here. Now, is he going to have to get around to block this guy, or what are kind of the rules here for your offensive lineman? Does this tackle always take the farthest outside guy in that instance?
So what we did here is they all slide right. So our guard is going to go to the end, center's going to go here, guard's going to take this D tackle, and Isaiah's going to pick up. So whatever side he's on, they're going to slide away if they stay in a 3. If they or a 4, if they go to a 3, then then they're man on man, and then he can run the route. But this is called a Y mesh, and so our wide receiver here and our back, so that's a Zach and Major, at about 3 to 4 yards, you'll see I'll run it slow. They're going to cross, and they're told I want them shoulder to shoulder, because one of 2 things they're going to see if the defense is playing man, and so as I'm running this way, as I see my teammate coming this way and there's a guy chasing him, I know they're in man. If nobody's chasing either one of us, they're in zone, then you got to find a hole. Well, Madden, they kind of put some pressure, and he steps up to the left, and he's just about to the line of scrimmage, and Zach over here, he sees him over here wide open. He throws across his body and gets it to him. So I'll play it here, slow motion. So we have guys, he steps up and he sees, now you can see, here's Major. All 3 defenders are coming over here. There's nobody going with Zach. So he throws it across his body.
It's an incredibly athletic play. We're going to have to see that one in real time, because to make that decision, he's being chased out of the pocket there. One of the guys gets an inside release on you here as you're sliding over, and a super athletic play by our quarterback. Yeah,
he did a very good job here. And he's just learning to play the position,
Well, yeah, young kid, sophomore, right?
Yeah. So, and then this we can watch too. This is our extra point. Went back to wishbone. We ran a 18 option, and did a very good job. And we got people out blocking and got the extra point. So 40-14 at that time. So.
Yeah, well, you needed those 8 points right there at the end just to feel like you were still in the game coming out. Obviously, things hadn't been going your way on the defensive side of the ball, and we haven't seen a lot of this wing yet. I know you've seen it in the past, and things are going, but kind of the first time, and such a young team, right? A lot of your defenders are seeing these things maybe for the first or second time in their short careers.
Yeah, and hopefully, we'll get better at stuff, and defensively we need to get a little more physical. And I think, that's one of the things we're going to work on this week, is, trying to get more physical. And the other thing, we want to do is try to get more situations in practice where we can get, usually what happens, and this is, I think, a big struggle in 9-man because of numbers. You may have some guys that are, your starters, pretty good football players, and then when the younger guys run the scout team stuff, and when they run the scout team, they have to watch film so they kind of know what's going on. But when you're dealing with quality teams, your scout team is not going to give you near as good a look as
right. So even if you've seen it in practice all week, the execution of it when you get to game day is going to be at a much higher level.
Right.
Just for the simple fact that you have freshmen and sophomores on your team that are running these things aren't necessarily as physically developed as the seniors and juniors that you're probably going to be playing against on Friday night.
Yeah, and that makes a difference because like the JV guys, they have a game tomorrow in Avon, and I think they've only lost one game so far this year, playing against guys their own age. But now you're trying to scrimmage and run that stuff. So we're going to try to do some things where we maybe go half line, half side of the ball, and get our older players against each other, so they have to work harder in practice, because that's where you get prepared, that's where you get better, is in practice, and games as a reward for that work during practice.
And how important is it? I know that they have a pretty good youth program now. That hasn't always been the case, though, here in Bonhomme. We got some pretty good athletes that are coming up that are playing middle school ball now, but how important is it to have the program from the time these kids are a little bit younger, which obviously in a small town is hard to even field a team. I know we pull from several towns around here. It's not just Tyndall, but it's important to maybe be working with those coaches to say, hey, this is probably what they're going to see as they get older. Can we be teaching those, and is there that kind of communication between coaches and teams as they're moving through the program?
Well, I know our middle school, they run the same stuff. They have access to Huddle. They have one of the things that, and I can pop this up here real quick. We have what's called Playbook, and so you can go on here, and so now this is offensive. So if we go, I can go to installs, and I can go down here to Wishbone, all right? And so it has all of the plays, what the play names are, and everything. Now, the one thing that I can do that I haven't done yet, and I think that's one of my goals for this off season, is I can kind of show you. Let's go a better one. So here is the diagram for an 18 option. What they do.
This is literally how you draw it up.
Right. And then down here it has
some notes here attached to it.
Who does what, everything. And then what I haven't done yet is attach a video clip.
Awesome.
So
this Huddle program is just incredible. Once I know we say it every single week, but a shout out to Huddle for what they're doing for youth sports. This is what makes better football players. This access to the tape, to these plays and the playbook. This is incredible. I haven't even seen this stuff yet, so I'm very impressed with what they can bring to the table for our young players.
Yeah, and it's really nice because not only can they see, okay, there's a diagram, but then I see the play, and so if you add a video clip, you can go, and then it'll bring up a bunch of
Well, and you can run that 2-point conversion that we just watched. Hey, this is what it looks like in real speed.
Yeah.
And we saw a few of these, last week as well, going the opposite way, that we can take the highlights that we've been working on here in the classroom and be able to attach them to this. And now you have that. Now, is this something, do you guys do any kind of camps for the younger kids during the summer and to try to get a little bit of time with them before they're in the high school program?
We haven't yet, and that is my plan. What I want to do is like with the upcoming 6th through 8th graders is, have like, 1 or 2 evenings, like after baseball gets over, so we're not interfering with the baseball, and, maybe try to bring in, some, maybe former players, or, I know we've got, relationship with Fellowship Christian Athletes. They would come down and help out.
Right. Well, we love organizing events, Coach. If there's anything that the Scene Project Sports Network can do to put that out there and promote it and get a whole bunch of kids out to take part in this, because I think that's what builds these healthy programs. And I know we've been talking about that the last few weeks. It takes time to build up a championship pro. Sure, you can have one team that cracks because you have a couple of incredible athletes, right? But to build something that sustains, like a West Central or this Parkston team now, which is kind of becoming, dare you say, dynasty, right? 2-3, I'm sure they're looking to get back in here. They're probably going to have a tough time against that Freeman team. Are they in the same district region as we are?
No, actually now what they do is they seed you 1 through 16.
Okay.
And so they make a bracket, 16 plays 1, 15 2, and on down. And so, that'll be, it just depends on where you end up on which side of the bracket. Now, I would say Freeman's probably going to end up being the 1 seed because that's where they are now. And then it's probably going to, be either the 2, 3, and 4 are probably going to be Parkston, Elkton, Lake Benton, and Hamlin. Probably going to fall in there someplace. And Hamlin and Elkton, Lake Benton play the last game of the year.
So that could have some serious seeding implications in there too.
Yeah, because then whoever ends up 4 is going to end up, being on the same side of the bracket as Freeman. And so, but you never know. And there's always in South Dakota, there's one other factor that people don't count on. That's weather.
Yes, sir.
If you like to throw the ball a lot and it's
blowing 60 miles an hour, or maybe there's some snow, not so much probably out here late in the season, but we grew up, we always had a game in the snow, I feel like, during the season growing up in Deadwood.
Yeah. We in 2017, when I was at Avon, we went to Howard and played second round playoff game, and it was 20 degrees and a 40 mile an hour northwest wind.
That changes the game.
Yeah. And both of us were run teams, so it didn't affect, I think each of us maybe threw it a couple times or something like that, short stuff. But
when we saw Freeman, they like to throw the ball out, and we know that the Kimball White Lake team was airing it out as well. It's going to have a lot greater effect on a team that wants to throw the ball than somebody who can lean on their heavy run game.
Yeah. Well, and especially it gets a little harder to catch the ball when it's 20 degrees and that wind.
It's a little bit harder to do just about anything when it's that temperature.
Yeah, and the good thing is for the running teams, if you're physical, those hits, those tackles, everything, they sting a little bit more, and it makes it tougher. So the teams that are physical definitely have an advantage, I think, when the weather turns cooler.
And exactly why we're trying to turn up the temperature of practice, get a little more physical, and to show that. Let's check out a couple more plays here, Coach, if you got something. I know the defense had a tough day, gave up a lot of points, but was there any highlights from the defensive side of the ball this week?
Most of the stuff I have here is offensive things. We did have, let me go back here. We had a couple, I don't know if I marked them because they're it's kind of hard to see. There was a couple where we had fumble recoveries, but it was the ball's in the pile, so you can't even tell who had it and who didn't and who fumbled it. And because then the camera shuts off, and then next thing you know, we're on offense. But there was one other play, especially offensively, that I want to show that I think I'll put on. Here we go. A highlight here. This is, camera kind of starts late here, but I'll show you. This is another 18 option. So we've had the fake, and this defensive end comes charging in here, and he pitches it out. See, he
went for the fake.
Right, and that's the nice thing. If that we tell quarterbacks is, you got to get that ball in the fullback's stomach early, and then really, and then
there's only about 3 players on this, and this guy's not going to be able to make a play on it. And even the safety back here, right? One of these defensive backs are going to have trouble getting there, and you got a blocker out front with them as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm going to show these guys tomorrow and show Madden. All right, so we'll freeze. All it takes is these guys to take a wrong step. They all think that Isaiah has the ball, and realistically, Madden should have probably kept that, got around the corner, and waited to pitch till he got out here.
Right, or even keep carrying it and put both of those guys out in front of you.
Right, and so I kind of lose the very end, but that was a 29-yard gain, and then on top of it there was a horse collar tackle on top of it.
I'll put you right down onto the 1 yard line or so then, huh?
Yeah, and then you'll see, then we go to the very next play, we scored, same thing. Now that time the defensive end takes, and we'll back it up here just a little bit. Here's why it's important. Okay, right here, all right, Majors engage with him, and what we tell our defenders all the time, if it's easy, it's wrong. Okay, Major's not going to let him go this way, so the kid says, well, I'm going to go this way because it's easier, and
you have no chance. He's going underneath that play, and it's already by you.
Yeah. And so it's
so you still had success doing the things that you guys do well. You were still able to run the ball against this team, and that's got to give you some confidence in there. And now that you've seen this double wing offense, you're going to be that much more prepared if you happen to meet Parkston in the playoffs coming up here later this year.
Yeah, and I think we'll be more prepared. We were talking to coaches about different things that we can do, coming up if we see these guys again defensively, that, so, hopefully we have that chance. If we do, it means we've probably won at least one playoff game, and then we have a chance at the second. So just see what happens.
Well, we alluded a little bit to homecoming week this week. Obviously, it's important to the players. It's important to the whole town. What can we look forward to? We know they're not going to kick the ball deep to us. Yeah. What else is Wessington bringing to the table?
They're going to spread it out. They lost 8 seniors from last year. They got runner-up to Howard last year. The kid that was their quarterback is back, but they moved him to wide receiver, and they have a freshman playing quarterback. So they'll spread it out, put guys in motion, do a lot of different stuff. But the other thing is defensively, they'll play a 3 front. We haven't seen a 3 front for a little while, and just about every play there's a blitzing linebacker. So
so it's a 3-man front, but there's always pressure coming from somewhere.
Yeah, and so we've got to be ready for that. And
it puts a lot of pressure on your backs then to be able to pick up these blitzers and to be able to move some people around from the backfield.
Yeah.
What do you do to kind of combat that? Is there anything that you do differently, or it's just a matter of executing against it?
I think a lot of it is execution. The big thing, and Gregory did that. They blitz guys. They had guys up there. Scotland Menno did it. It seems like every week we see somebody that's trying to do that stuff. So, the big thing, linemen have to have their head up. If they're, in a 3-front, our guards are uncovered. And so they should have a perfect view, of that guy coming, and that shouldn't be an issue. But if you're not paying attention, or you're tired or something like that, and all of a sudden that guy comes late and you don't see him. So that'll be the big thing. Backs have to be able to adjust a little bit because, it looks like they're playing a 3-3, but their linebackers kind of start in different positions on every play. So it's kind of hard to see, and one of the things I always tell the players is, teams that like to blitz and like to do crazy stuff like that all the time, they're going to make some big plays, but they're going to give up big plays. I mean, if we get it picked up and if we get, what we want, I think, we can break some big plays. The other thing that I saw, I watched last night their game of Platte Geddes, and the one thing that I thought is when they ran some play action, Platte Geddes did, they had guys wide open. A couple times, guy dropped the ball, quarterback missed him, but they had guys open. So, and they're young, Woolsey Wessington. So being young, I think they're taking some chances defensively to try to, hopefully make stops. But when you take chances, you give up big plays too.
Yeah, so we can look forward to hopefully some receivers getting open down the field and making some big plays and scoring lots of touchdowns this week here in Tyndall. Looking forward to it, Coach. Did Madden have success changing up his snap counts? I know that was something we were talking about last week because Kimball White Lake were kind of jumping that snap. Did he have some success this week changing it up and getting a little experience doing that?
Yeah, I think he did that pretty well. We do some first down, and all week in practice I told both him and Ethan, I said, you can't call the same snap count twice in a row. You gotta mix it up every single time. That way our line gets used to it and our backs and everybody is used to it, and you don't get into a rut. You make that a habit, and that's just the way we're going to do it. So when it gets Friday night, you're doing the same thing.
Now, you have 2 sophomore quarterbacks at that position, Ethan and Madden both. Obviously, you see a lot more of Madden back there now, but looking ahead with this team, I know you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but do you have to kind of make a decision next year as they get into their junior year? Madden's an athletic kid. You could probably put him anywhere on the field. You're hoping that Ethan maybe gets a little bit bigger and stronger over the course of the next 12 months and can maybe slide into that role, because he's not on the field if he's not playing quarterback, correct?
Yeah, right now he plays some defensive back too, but I do have some. We haven't shown it yet, but I do have. This past week we started working on where we have them both on the field at the same time.
And that's got to be a nightmare for a defensive coach because, Ethan's got a heck of an arm. He might not be a terribly big kid. I do believe he's a baseball player as well, right? So he's got a cannon on him. Yeah. It's just maybe being able to see over top of some of the larger offensive linemen for him right now and being able to play through that. But the kid's got wheels too. We've seen that earlier on some stuff. So I got to imagine that looking ahead and maybe some wrinkles that you can put in with this team when the game's on the line as well, instead of maybe while you're just up by 30 and you're getting them out there for some playing time and running some different stuff.
Yeah, because I know we're practicing some stuff. We have an end of game play that if we need a score, he's in on that. And then we added a formation where they're both in the backfield this week, and to kind of use some of the assets that Ethan has, and maybe a little trickery too.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to it, Coach. As always, good luck to you this weekend. And thank you so much for giving me some of your time here on a Sunday. A little bit earlier than we have been doing it, but I've had a busy weekend, and it doesn't slow down for me ever either. So I want to thank you for your time. Looking forward to homecoming week. Woolsey Wessington is coming here to Tyndall. It's going to be a great week. The kids are in school 5 days this week, so thank goodness. You get an extra day of work. I'm sure you're excited about that. And we'll see you guys next Monday here celebrating a CAVS win on homecoming. This has been the Scene Project Sports Network. This is CAVS Hour, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Scene Projects Podcast Network. We appreciate you listening. You can find more at thesceneprojects.com. Join our community.
Pour that love on me like water. Got an ocean full of love that's made for two. We can sail upon the ocean breeze and sunshine feels like you loving me. We got a good thing going on, you know that's true. I'm feeling fine, fine, fine. Pour your love on me like wine. Come fill me up, let me take a sip from your loving cup. Feeling fine, 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 fine. Pour your love on me like wine.